My friendship with Bob Ashley started in 1964. At the San Francisco Tape Music Center, we were communicating with him via United States Postal Service. And we would receive his tape and play them on our concerts. In 1964, the San Francisco Tape Music Center had a tour, a national tour, which took us to Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And there, Bob Ashley and the Once group met us up, and we had a really wonderful time meeting each other. And then we went to Ann Arbor and had a great party and a great exchange of information. It was only the Once group and the San Francisco Tape Music Center who were working in electronic music performance and developing new systems at the time. There was the Columbia Princeton Electronic Music Studio, but Bob Ashley was at the center of developing his operas and performance art with the Once group. One of the great experiences in the early 70s, I believe, was being on location with Bob and George Manupelli and many of the Once group and others in the Joshua Tree National Monument in the high desert in California. We were there for a couple of weeks making the feature film Dr. Chicago, and Dr. Chicago was played by Alvin Lucier, and I was playing the wife of some desert person, and we all had a really wonderful time together. I guess the two communities coming together expanded, and eventually, interestingly enough, Bob Ashley became the director of what had been the San Francisco Tape Music Center at Mills College. He changed the name to the Center for Contemporary Music, and that is what it remains today.
Hi, I first met Robert when I was 17 years old and he was 32. This was in 1962, and I'd come from Texas, from San Antonio, with all my belongings in a paper bag. And I was taken in by Gordon Muma and Jackie Muma. And Mary Ashley, who was Bob's first wife, found a job for me at the Institute for Social Research. And Robert was helping with lots of other things and got me involved in all the music scene, and especially the Once group, which had just really started then. It was a very 1960s kind of thing, and it was more of a lifestyle than a once-a-year festival. Everything he did, from the earliest graph pieces and electronic pieces to the later operas, all had a very admirable intelligence, a very kind, loving sense of humor, and a great love of humanity. He would give me assignments that always would teach me something. Uh, it's like the most original composers, would, like John Cage say, would do that. So that every piece that you did, you really learned something. You learned a new conception, new way even of living life. In the opera Dust, he told me no melodies, no patterns, no harmonies, no melodies, just play sounds. The idea is to impress the woman who was on the stage with me with the sounds that I would make. And so in order to do that, I had to go back and unlearn everything I'd learned and do it, from the first idea of what it was to make sounds on the piano, that kind of love. But as Robert said, if you're confused, it just means you're learning something. Oh, well. Robert prepared us for his passing. He said the last three operas are in a thing called the Journal, which is from age 1 to 84, which is his age he would have been at the end of this month of March. And he said, well, no more solitude.
I met Robert Ashley in Chicago at New Music America in the early 1980s. I was there for the premiere of my composition Prelude, and he was performing Perfect Lives. I was immediately overwhelmed by his complete control of words and his ability to deliver texts with extreme comfort. I was also amazed at how he was able to bring other people into his world for the absolute perfect performance of his work. Since our first meeting, I have continued to follow his work, and he has never failed to inspire.
There was something about being in the presence of Bob Ashley that made one feel creative. For some reason, the power of his personality was such that he gave you confidence in an idea that you might have. It could be an old idea that you never executed, or it could be something new. It could be fanciful, it could be outrageous. He accepted any idea, anything you might say. I'm going to miss Bob Ashley. He was one of my oldest musician friends. The world of music's going to miss him too.
Robert Ashley had a very large influence on the artists around him. At the Once Festival in Ann Arbor with the Sonic Arts Union, at Mills College, in the art scenes in New York, London, Cologne, Berlin, and other places. He had a fierce opposition to the status quo and was a champion of finding fresh ways of doing art and living life. At Mills College in the 70s, at the Center for Contemporary Music, Bob assembled a group of stellar artists who, together with him, set the tone for the CCM at that time. Blue Gene Tyranny, Maggie Payne, John Bischoff, Paul DeMarinis, Nick Bertoni, William Farley. And then wonderful students came. Ron Quivola, Frankie Mann, Pat Kelly, Fast Forward, Laetitia Tsunami, Peter Gordon, Kathy Acker, Joel Ryan, Jill Crozen, Ben Azarm, Phil Laurie, Bob Gonsalves, and others. At CCM in those mid-70s years, vital new music originated, and some of it was published as vinyl LPs by Mimi Johnson on her new record label, Lovely Music. Those Mills years were among my happiest memories of lifetime association with Bob. When new incoming students assembled at Mills for the first time, Bob had an introductory warning message to them. If you're not weird, get out.
Hi, my name is Peter Gordon. Robert Ashley was my teacher, my mentor, my colleague, my boss, my friend. I first met Bob when I was a graduate student at UC San Diego, and he came down to realize a version of Kit Carson, his opera. It involved politics, it involved people working together, it involved experimental electronic music, And what really struck me about it was that how this was a very rich and informative and layered piece, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun putting together. And also how Bob was able to really create a whole working ensemble just over the weekend. Some of the things that strike me about Bob: he made everything so effortless. There were things to be done, and one just did them, no drama. Bob was extremely kind and generous to people working with him. He was interested in what you had to say, and the true marking of a great musician and a great composer, Bob was a great listener. And he was generally interested in people. He would talk to people regardless of their stature, position, or the nature of the connection. Very important, Bob was able to see music within a social context, with political awareness, as well as an appreciation for popular culture. Bob was extremely rigorous in thought and action. His works were meticulously planned, with layers of connection and specific formula in which things should work. I was working with Bob largely on the piece Perfect Lives, video opera, which was produced in the late 70s, early 80s. I'm now in the process of revisiting this piece in a new version in Spanish, Vidas Perfectas. Around the time that Bob was doing Perfect Lives, this was really concurrent with the development of rap music. I saw this as being two parallel lines happening concurrently. In Bob's music, as well as in rap and hip-hop, language really came to the fore, but language as music, ideas as music. Words had meaning. People had meaning.